The midterm elections are just weeks away, and it's already been an intense primary season leading up to November. Politics editor Jim Antle joins me now, and let's talk about some of the wins and losses, and especially some of the upsets.
Well, I think the biggest one that happened during the course of this primary season was Representative Joe Crowley in New York was defeated by socialist primary challenger Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And this has had two major effects. One is she's become a national Democratic superstar. She's only 28. She was a barista, really kind of a political rags to riches story. And Crowley was a rising star in the Democratic ranks. He was considered to be the person most likely to be able to challenge Nancy Pelosi for leadership, leaves Democrats scrambling a little bit if they don't go the Pelosi route in the event that they retake the House in November. They sort of don't have as many alternatives now to Pelosi, who's been a bit of a liability on the campaign trail. Republicans have used her as a, if not a boogeyman, a boogie woman in their campaign ads and a lot of the a lot of the debates and things like that. So that was a pretty big upset. Having said that, there really were not as many upsets on the progressive side as was expected. They didn't defeat any sitting senators. They've done okay when there were open governor's seats, but they didn't defeat. They haven't had that track record with the incumbent governors at this point. So it's been a bit of a mixed bag. I mean, they did defeat Michael Capuano in Massachusetts, lost to a progressive primary challenger. But what's happened is a lot of Democrats, a lot of the establishment Democrats, have tried to appropriate the platforms of the progressive primary challengers to head off these opponents so that they could field more competitive candidates in the general election, but they're going to run on some of their issues like Medicare for all and abolishing or at least reforming ICE. So they're trying to tap into that progressive energy without necessarily having less experienced candidates running in the general election.
Were there an unusually high number of primaries for this midterm year?
There was a massive number of Democratic candidates running, and that was a concern that some Democrats had, was that especially in these affluent suburban districts, which is really where the path to the House majority lies, that there would be too many Democratic candidates running that might lead to them not getting the preferred general election candidates, and it might also mean that some of the districts that don't fit that profile wouldn't have enough Democratic candidates running. That concern doesn't seem to have been particularly borne out. On the Republican side, there was a fear that there would be a lot of conservative primary challengers, Tea Party types. Steve Bannon, at one point, the former White House chief strategist, had threatened to recruit primary challengers against every sitting Republican senator up this year except for Ted Cruz in Texas. After the loss in the special election in Alabama and Bannon's split with President Trump, that sort of fizzled. And Trump and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell on the Senate side worked pretty closely together on endorsements, and Republicans actually recruited a fairly strong Senate challenger field against the 10 Trump state Democrats who are up for re-election this year to give them a chance to maybe pick up some seats in what figures to be a very challenging election environment for Republicans.
Overall, how have these primaries shifted the political landscape? President Trump keeps calling it the coming red wave. Right. We've heard a lot about the blue wave. How do you see things playing out?
Well, I think we're a little bit closer to a blue wave than a red wave, certainly. But there are these competing dynamics of you have the House where the Democrats are competing in anywhere from 40 to 60 districts. Republicans are maybe trying to flip 5 seats. So the math in the House very much favors the Democrats. But in the Senate, it's a different story. So you do have those 10 red state senators that are up this year. Several of them are in trouble. Several of them are running in states where Trump is still popular. And in several of those cases, they have pretty strong challengers. So Trump may be a liability to the Republicans who are seeking re-election in the House, but for these Republican challengers running for the Senate, he's kind of an asset. So how do Republicans manage that? That's going to be something that's pretty tricky as we head into the general election. The Democrats, even though a lot of establishment candidates won, still there's the overall impression that the party has shifted to the left. Does that impact their ability to win in some of these suburban districts come November? Or does antipathy toward Trump really trump all?
All right, Jim, thanks so much for your insight as always.
Thank you.
For more of Jim's article, check out this week's Washington Examiner magazine and join us next time for more examining.